Well, I believe in accountability because I believe in the unlimited potential of the human nature to sin. John Bunyan wrote Pilgrim's Progress. Alexander White wrote the biography of Bunyan. And he said, before Bunyan went to prison and Bunyan was a pastor, that the secret of his preaching, the secret of John Bunyan's preaching, is he never assumed that his people weren't dealing with sin. So when I enter the stage on Sunday morning, of course I'm assuming people are dealing with sin, very real temptation, because I know in my own life, the 6 days that I've been away from Hope Point, I'm aware of the temptations that have assailed me. So if there's any place that I believe temptation is the greatest in this generation, well, in any generation, I think it's the greatest, strongest temptation in the history of the world is that which is occurring on the internet. And I think that there are more lives than we know of that are being destroyed because of the internet. I mean, the statistics we know of are devastating, but I think it's really the tip of the iceberg. I think that what's going on in the lives of, and I can only speak for men and students, what's going on below the statistics is 10 times more devastating than what we see. And that's not a negative statement about the internet, because the internet has enlarged and expanded my ministry greatly in 30 years that I've been a pastor. When I look at what I'm able to glean from the text now compared to 30 years ago, I've got access to the greatest thinkers and writers and shapers of human thought from a biblical standpoint in the history of the world. It's at my fingertips. But I am so often alone in surfing for that information that I mean, as tragic as it is, I have to say that the weakness of my flesh from just the pure rigors of ministry and study, it would make me vulnerable to what is on the web. And so when I talk about accountability, the reason that I know our students need it is I know I'm pursuing God. I want Him badly, but I know that temptation screams at me through the internet, even while I'm pursuing biblical studies. So, you know, Paul said the law is good if one uses it properly. So we know the internet is good. It's a good thing. The problem is not with the internet. The problem is with people on the internet with no supervision and no accountability. And so for me, I know that one glance on one website would destroy me. Or, well, let me just say, it would ignite a flame in my flesh. One glance would lead to two. 2 glances would lead to 20, and 20 glances would lead to my undoing. The undoing of my life, the undoing of my ministry, the undoing of my marriage. And so, you know, I tell my own daughter, I love you, but I don't trust you. And I would tell that to any student. I would tell that to any friend, that we're not trustworthy. And therefore, because we know we're not trustworthy with so much freedom, because of our love for God, we put in our lives guidelines, guardrails, accountability, people to protect us from what we know is already there. So the way I do it, I subscribe every month to a service called Covenant Eyes. And I've been doing this for years, and what it does, it tracks and records every single website that I go to, and takes all those websites together, scores them, whether they're good or not, and sends them to my prayer partner down in Greenwood, South Carolina, emails him a report. He looks over the report, and if Covenant Eyes has marked anything that is questionable to him, the first thing that he does for me is that he calls me and says, I don't understand this score. And sometimes it is, you know, it is easily explainable, such as if Anna and Lisa were shopping for clothing and therefore they were on a lot of women's websites. Then he sees that my computer has been on websites related to women, and so he'll ask me what was going on. And so it's my joy to tell him I wasn't shopping for women's clothing, nor was I looking at something improper. But I love the phone call from him, and I know the phone call is coming. Even my use of PowerPoint on Sunday morning requires that I search the web often for images. A few weeks ago, I think I was preaching on something with the Money series, and I had to find the Fort Knox the Fort Knox a JPEG image of it. And so I had to look at tons of images. Well, the website, Google Images, sent a report through Covenant Eyes to Archie that I had been looking at lots of images, and so it scored it really high. It didn't say what kind of images I was looking at. It just said at this time of the day I was looking at lots of images on Google. So Archie calls me and says, what were you looking at? And I love that phone call. I cherish that phone call. Listen, there's nothing within me that's virtuous. It's not like I have this innate propensity toward holiness. What I do, though, is I basically trap myself. I don't have the choice to go to impure websites because I will be caught. I will be found out. And out of love for God, I make sure that my life contains those parameters which will not allow me to go to a place that would destroy my life. So if you ask me, Richard, of all the expenses that you incur each month, what is your most valuable? It's not my house payment. It's not paying off a credit card. It's $7.99 a month is what I send to Covenant Eyes, and it's going to save my life. I would tell anybody this. I don't think I'm an especially holy person, but if there's been any key to my life in ministry, it's my refusal to live a lie. And so it's not that I always get everything right, but somebody knows the truth about my life. And I'm so intent on wanting truth, that I make myself accountable, especially in the area of the internet. Because here's the key. Here's the key for me in regard to personal holiness. I don't think sin, even a sin that may have been a problem for a person in the past, such as, let's say, the internet, I don't think that is a very difficult sin to defeat unless you light the flame. So for me, I know that I cannot allow my flesh to be heated up at all by even one image, and the fact that even that one image is going to get sent by way of email through Covenant Eyes to Archie prevents me from going to that one website. So I beg you, love your kids, cook popcorn for them at night, tuck them in, buy them stuffed animals, tell them they're awesome, and compliment them, but don't trust them to make a good decision alone in your house without supervision and without control. If you love them, you will demonstrate that love by not giving them a license to casually walk off a cliff. And they will walk off that cliff if they're left alone without supervision, without control. So I am a cheerleader, a big fan, the biggest fan of Covenant Eyes. It has saved my life.